Quick, what year am I thinking of? I'll give you a hint. A bombastic authoritarian bully is about to assume the presidency of the United States. Those of you who guessed 2017, close, but that's not it. Those of you who guessed 1829, nice job, and I assume you read the title of the video. Here are 5 appalling things about Andrew Jackson. Number 1, he was a bombastic authoritarian bully. Kind of gave this one away in the intro, didn't I? Strip away the admiring talk from some historians about how he remade the presidency in his image and founded Jacksonian democracy, and you're forced to confront a man who, despite his many impressive qualities, was self-centered, thin-skinned, and vindictive. Albert Gallatin, briefly the running mate of one of Jackson's opponents in the election of 1824, described Jackson as an honest man who was altogether unfit for the presidency. After he won the election of 1828, Jackson set about proving how right Gallatin had been about him. Number 2, he governed through violence. Jackson's military exploits raised him to national prominence, though his supporters preferred to talk about his brilliant victory at the Battle of New Orleans rather than his dictatorial enforcement of martial law in New Orleans following the battle, where he ordered the arrest of a state legislator and a federal judge after a local newspaper published an article critical of him. As president, Jackson used his infamous temper to intimidate people into giving him his way, often threatening to shoot or hang political opponents. At the end of his presidency, when Jackson was asked if he had any regrets, he said only that he had been unable to kill Henry Clay and John C. Calhoun, his chief political rivals, which is kind of funny until you remember that this man was president of the United States for 8 years. I'll give him this, he left his mark. When he was gone, you definitely knew he'd been there. For example, number 3, he seriously damaged the economy. Jackson spent much of his presidency opposing the nation's central bank. After vetoing a bill to re-charter the Second Bank of the United States, Jackson withdrew federal funds and redistributed them to private banks. 3 years later, he issued the Specie Circular Executive Order, which mandated that government land could only be sold in exchange for silver or gold, not paper money. As a result of Jackson's economic policies, the Panic of 1837 ensued, and the American economy remained in a depression for the next 7 years. But hey, at least Old Hickory killed the bank like he said he would, right? That's what really matters. Number 4, he was a champion of slavery. Even by early 19th century standards, Andrew Jackson's support for the institution of slavery was controversial. His personal fortune was built using slave labor, and for a time he was actually a slave trader as a part of his business, making him the only American president to have that particular line on his resume. As president, Jackson advocated for pro-slavery policies, attempting to suppress the distribution of abolitionist literature and enabling the expansion of the slave-holding South into Native American territory. And speaking of that, last but not least, number 5, he took part in genocide. In 1830, President Jackson signed into law the Indian Removal Act, which led to the removal of Native Americans from their ancestral homelands in what had become the southeastern United States. Ultimately, approximately 60,000 members of the Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Creek, and Seminole tribes were forced to relocate to lands west of the Mississippi. A quarter of them, perhaps more, died during these relocations, the last of which were death marches conducted under the supervision of the United States military. This is Andrew Jackson's most enduring and damning legacy: the American government using its power to steal the wealth of indigenous people and use it to enrich white people. And for that, we put Jackson on the 20. If that's what it takes, Trump should at least make the 5, wouldn't you think? The hardest part's picking only 5. Catch you next time. Hey folks, hope you found this video worth watching. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And also please consider helping me to make more videos like this one by supporting this channel through Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Steve Shives to become a patron. Thanks for watching.